comes down to it, why is it that salespeople are scared to use emotions in their sales process? I'm Sylvan Bell. I'm coming to you live from Sacramento, California on a perfect day to talk about sales and a perfect day to talk about emotions in sales. And you may hear the phrase, people buy with emotion and justify with logic, but most salespeople, they do the opposite. They sell with logic and then try to justify with emotion, and it creates a lot of problems. So here's a couple of reasons why people are scared in the world of sales to sell with emotion. One, they don't know how. Nobody ever taught them. Two, nobody ever told them that they could. Three, most sales trainers are men, and most sales trainers don't ever talk about emotions in the sales process. I was just in a copywriting class, and the trainer did, so fantastic, good job, right? And what it really comes down to is 4, comfort zone. Most salespeople, since they're not used to talking about emotions, they're not used to being around emotions, they have a tough time bringing theirs up. So in a sales process, the fear is, if I talk about emotions, I'm going to be emotional. And if I'm going to talk about emotions and I'm emotional, I'm going to be vulnerable to the buyer. Not realizing that that is a shortcut to the rapport process for them to go, hey, look, you get it, okay? So at my age, I'm 43 years old. I've been going through a lot of weird things in my life, like I lost my dad a year ago. It's something emotionally that I can connect with people with that are in their 50s, their 60s, their 30s, or somebody who's lost somebody who's important to them in their life. Something that I hadn't been through enough experiences that I couldn't build rapport on. I couldn't have that emotional conversation, okay? So 2008, 2009, I went through a really bad breakup. And because of that really bad breakup, on an emotional level, I could connect with a lot of people who've been through divorces, been through really bad breakups, who've lost friends, family members, co-workers. There's things that you live through, and I'm going to tell you, what happens is the more that you start talking about emotions in your sales process, the easier it is for you to close deals because people will connect with you on a completely different level. And I'll see this where younger salespeople will get into the world of sales and they're like, well, I don't want to say that and I don't want to do that because then I'm not going to look like I'm coming from a power of authority. I'm going to look weak. Not realizing that that person is looking for somebody who's real to deal with. They're looking at like, hey, are you a real person or are you just here trying to close me? Are you a real person? Does your story really matter that you're trying to tell me, or is all this fake? And what you're going to find is most salespeople, especially when they're struggling, they'll pull back those emotions and they don't want to use them because, real deal. It could hurt them in the sales process. Real deal. They could get rejected. Real deal. They could have a bunch of problems. Salespeople, predominantly men, don't use emotions in the sales process because they don't want to look weak. They don't know how. They haven't had the training. And in the United States, in America, society says that you shouldn't use emotions. You shouldn't be emotional. And it creates a lot of problems. I will tell you that there is a line in the sand. There's a line in the sand where you go, you know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to use emotions in my sales process. And you're going to find that rapport is easier. Closing deals is easier. But conversely, there are times, and I'm not saying every time, there are times where your buyer uses it against you and you just don't close the deal and you can go home and you could be upset. It does happen, right? Emotions aren't used in the sales process because most salespeople are scared to use them because they don't know how to use them or they're afraid it's going to be used against them. There you go, 2 things. You got one thing to do from here, just one thing. Find the subscribe button and click on it. Every time I send out a video, you'll get an update. This is Scott Bell Consultant sent out a fantastic video. You should check it out, which you should. We'll see you soon. Aloha.